Hey everyone, welcome to TBOP, Two Becoming One podcast.
My name is Sharon Kimaru.
And my name is Christian Kimaru, and
together
we are
Kimaru.
the Kimarus.
Thank you so much for being here. Today we are on season 1, episode 5.
Kobode, shikatano.
No, I had Gen Zs nowadays are doing to mean it 8. And then this is like, like you've made a really good point.
I'm too old for this, man.
That outfit 8 or that makeup 8. And then this is like when you remember the way we used to tap our fingers like this when someone has made a really
like
good point.
Word.
Exactly. So now they're doing this. Please come on, let me square for me. I'll be here doing this.
In my life.
Actually, I've not seen men doing that. Mostly it's girls, but I don't know. Probably they do.
Oh,
anyway.
Hey, Brad, nah, man. I ain't doing that. Am I toxic?
No, you're not, babe.
But me, I'm not doing that anyway.
Yeah. Today's episode, we're going to be speaking about, do opposites attract or do they just annoy each other? And we've prepared some amazing, exciting questions that are going to help us dive deeper into this topic and get to know more about it.
Yeah, man.
But before we start, sorry, you feel like?
People say opposites attract, but is it true?
So I guess we'll be finding out our opinion today, and we'd love to hear your opinion as well. So please keep engaged, keep commenting, tell us what you think about this topic, tell us your perspective about some of the questions that we're going to be asking each other. And let's keep growing the community.
What are you saying before we start?
I was saying before we start, tell us how are you?
I'm good. I'm excited. Excited for episode 5, which means it's been 5 weeks already on this podcast. I'm feeling happy, energetic, and ready for the day.
Nice.
And you?
Awesome. I am feeling grateful. I'm feeling, as you said, energetic. I have a lot of energy. I have a lot of happiness. I'm really just looking forward to what this day will hold. I'm looking forward to how this episode will turn out. The people who will, join the TBOP community. Thank you so much for the love. We are honestly so happy that you're here. We are happy that you've decided to be a part of this journey and a part of our community. And we really hope every time we put out any piece of content, we pray that it brings light into your life. It brings hope and it makes you just happier. Some entertainment, some laughter here and there. That's what we're all about.
Yeah, man. And we just want to appreciate each and every one of you who's engaged, who's watched, every single subscriber, every single viewer, every single like, every single comment. We are so happy that you guys have been able to be here with us on this beautiful experience. So, karibuni tena.
Come closer. So, question one.
Yeah.
Do opposites really attract at the start of a relationship, or is that just chemistry?
Do opposites really attract at the start of a relationship, or is just that chemistry? Well, I think opposites attract in the sense of like there's usually curiosity, because when you meet someone who is so radically different from you, you're like, oh, that's interesting. How do you think like that? So you start to kind of be even more interested in this person. You're like, oh, interesting. So there's this different perspective and this different world of things on the other side of other people's kind of frame of mind or personalities or how they're just built and wired. But then I think in terms of like kind of sustaining a relationship, what kind of sustains it is having now common and shared values. Because like the starting point of the attraction is great because you'll be like, oh, interesting, let me dig deeper and find out. But then now going forward, there's some things that just like the commonality of the values that you share, the ones that kind of sustain that. Because I feel like, yes, the interest of, oh, that's your perspective may not necessarily seem so appealing later. But then because now you share values, you're like, wow, I really do find you interesting because of the kind of values that we commonly have. And yeah, so there's a space for the difference and a space for the commonality, I think. Yeah. But yes, they do attract, I think so.
Yeah, nice. And I think also, just as you've said, the first point is usually, for example, like the very basic introvert and extrovert.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll find the introvert will look at the extrovert who's probably the life of the party or very loud or very people loving, always around people. And they're like, wow, how does it feel to be that person?
Like, how is your life like that?
Yeah, like how do you have so much energy for people? How are you always around people? And then now that will actually be the first point of, okay, that seems like an interesting person. Then I think through the first initial what do you call it, contact or realization, then chemistry starts to build. So I think definitely the differences play a part in the attraction bit, because you're like, okay, I like the way this person handles himself, in the midst of a crisis. I like how calm he is. I like how,
Thank you. You're far too
vocal.
kind.
No, I'm saying as an example. I like how vocal she is. I like how all these things happen. And you're like, okay, I'd like to know this person a little more. Then now when you start that, I'd like to know this person a little more, chemistry is built. So definitely the differences really play a part. And as you've said, as you get to know the person better, it's the commonality of the values you share that will keep you guys closer.
Kabisa.
You might be different personalities, but there are certain things that you must, be aligned to and aligned with that will ensure that you guys stay on course. Yeah.
On course.
On course.
Come a sheep. I wanted to ask a different question. Like, for you guys who are watching this, do you guys, like, what's your experience? Like, even if it's friendships, like, do you find that you have better friendships with people who you are very different, like radically different, or people who are like alike to you? I don't know.
Tell us, for you, look at your friends and think, are they like different or are they like you?
I think they're different because I feel like, no, there's commonality, but there's also difference in the sense of how maybe we reason about different things. But then there's commonality in maybe the bigger shared values of life. Like, because for me, I'm like, I can't be your friend if like in the instinct, like the deepest things of life, we are very radically different. I feel like it will be hard for the friendship to kind of flourish. But we are very different, but then also similar, I think, for the people that I think are my friends.
Yeah, there's definitely something that I think for me, if I think about it, all my friends have something in common somewhere.
Yeah.
Like they could be radically different personalities. They could have different beliefs in some things, but there's still, I feel like when I think about all my friends in my mind now, there's small things like kindness, like, and when you look back at yourself, you realize these are values and that values that are so deep seated in your life that you don't even speak about, but somehow you end up attracting the
That's
same
just
kind
how
of
your
person.
life you live.
Yeah, that's probably just how you live, and because of how you live, you end up attracting that kind of person in your life. So I think for me, at the end of the day, most of the time, if you look into your circle, if you look at your community, there's usually some certain values that will show themselves, that they will reveal themselves, even without you having to be like, okay, yeah, so when I'm looking for friends, I'm looking for kind, I'm looking for energetic, positive. No, I think at the end of the day, we've had this quote a lot for you attract what you are. So whatever you give out to the world, most times, think about it, you will
kinda
get it
comes
back.
back.
So if you're the kind of person who always has negative energy, if you're the kind of person who's always so angry at everything and anything, if you're the kind of person who never sees any good out of life, I promise you, you end up attracting the same kind of people. Because the reality is, for example, if now the kind of person you want to attract is the total opposite, they don't want to be around someone who's always complaining about their situations. They don't want to be around someone who's always speaking ill of other people, or just not a good person to exist. So yeah.
Interesting insight. Tell us in the comments, guys. Let's go to question number 2. We don't have a mug today, so we're just gonna use our phones.
He didn't clean it, clearly.
It is what it is what it is. You know that meme?
No.
It is what it is. So question 2 is, where do differences add balance and where do they cause friction? Where do differences add balance and where can they cause friction?
I feel like that question is a double-edged sword, because if I'm thinking about it, like, where do differences add balance and where do they cause friction?
Yep.
Sometimes it's in the same situation. So you might find if you're trying to deal with certain big issues of life, maybe there's some big decisions you need to make. And let's talk about something around like money. So you've been, your friend or your partner or whatever kind of relationship you're thinking about right now, or even your mother, daughter, father, son, like literally in this particular episode, we're really venturing out into other different types of relationships, because they really are all, like it's all relevant. So you find the times where you're trying to make big decisions about, as I said, let's say money, for example, and you have both been raised in different ways. You have different psychology of money. You have different personalities. So you find, like, in that moment, your differences will show.
Yeah.
and they would either be a cause of friction in that moment, or a cause of, like causes you guys to succeed in a particular thing. So let's say in a marriage, or in a relationship, you guys are trying to invest in something, and one party is very frugal, the other party is very let's good vibes and inshallah, let's see where tomorrow will come. You might end up not investing in this particular thing, and then voila, it actually drops.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a business, you wanted to buy shares, and then soon enough, the business starts to just, the
Go down,
depreciate,
or
the shares depreciate, and all of that. In that moment, your partner's difference really actually saved the whole family, right? And there are other instances where you'll find your differences cause friction to a point where you're not able to even like make decisions, and that really stalls you guys from making progress in many areas of your life. Not just financially, but in many, many different areas. So I think the important thing is to really understand, okay, I always say this, the goal is to get to the destination together. So it's about you guys to figure out, okay,
Final destination.
final destination.
Okay, maybe not a horror movie, but Final Destination.
Right. So it's about you guys to figure out how can we ensure that our differences are not going to derail us, or they're not going to cause us to stagnate, and we're wasting so much time before we make any decision and all of that. So it's very important to know that your differences could be either your downfall or can help you even get ahead. Yeah.
So when I think about how kind of differences add balance or cause friction, I think about maybe like, for example, our personalities. Like we are very different in terms of personalities. You are extremely extroverted, and I partly am extroverted, but mostly introverted. I find that maybe we strike a balance there sometimes on some things, because say for example, you could hang out with people every single day of the week. Personally, I can't. I find that a bit exhausting. Nothing against you guys. It's a me problem. It's not a problem. It's just how I'm wired, guys. Why did I say it's a problem? But anyway, when it comes to personalities, I feel like if someone is like a very practical person and one is like a dreamer who can think about the good big ideas, like a really yellow person who can think about the amazing ideas that we could always accomplish, like having a practical person now is the one who actually goes like, okay, fine, yes, here's the idea, but this is maybe how we can achieve it. Because I find that a lot of the time dreamers, they know how to dream, but maybe they might not know the steps to get to the dream. And I find that like if you guys are complementing each other like that in terms of personality, that's great. But then now I feel like the moment where your differences start to cause friction is when you guys now differ in values. Because now when the values are different, you see now, like you were saying in your point, like a value is something that is deeply rooted in you. So it even shapes who you are. But then now if we share different values, you see now that it's a source of conflict, because then you deep in your beliefs you're like but say for example asubuhi mtu anafaa kunywa chai na mkate, but me my values dictate that asubuhi mtu anafaa kunywa juice na bacon. Already source of conflict, because then it has now a financial implication, it has a health implication, and just a way of life implication that might cause conflict as opposed to kind of bringing you guys together. But then I feel like also the differences are cool because you guys are able to spot like blind spots for each other. Because like back to the scenario of a dreamer and a practical person, a dreamer can be like, wow, we can buy a yacht and all this stuff. Then the practical person is like, yeah, for you to buy a yacht, it means you have to pay the parking fees for it at the dock, or it needs staff, it needs fuel. And then that we're able to cover each other's blind spots. And if you think about a household, that's how a lot of the time it works. Like maybe you'll see things in a different perspective, and then me, I'll see it in a different perspective, and then we're like, oh, by the way, I hadn't seen that, I hadn't thought about that. And when you're consequently like, hey, consequently. What is up with this thing? Like, and when you're making like massive decisions in life, that's the kind of balance you need. Like say for example, you're trying to find a place where you guys will settle down. Say you want to buy a shamba, for example. I could find this place, it's beautiful, looks amazing, but then, and the price makes sense, but then you come in, you're like, but then where will our kids go to school? Like, how will it look like when the weather is not as warm? When it's cold, will it be okay for the children? Such things. And then it hits you, oh, I hadn't considered any of those things. And that you're able to make a more solid decision. And I think that's how it is when with marriages and partnerships and friendships, even a business partnership, when you are like, you have a co-founder,
Right.
you guys are able to bounce off each other and end up with a as long as you use the differences as a strength, because also you could use the differences to kind of attack each other and be like, we unafikirianga aje, like why you always have bad ideas. As long as you use it like as a kind of a thing to do this as opposed to do this, I think you guys will be fine.
Do this as opposed to do this. Yeah, I think that was a really
Yeah.
good point. Yeah, I think I like the thing about blind spots. Just like on a road, blind spots are the ones that usually cause a lot of accidents.
Right.
So if we're able to spot each other's blind spots, then it means it's easy for us to just do life easier, do business easier, just be better people in general.
Actually, you've said about the road, and I've thought about something like when you're driving, like you have, I don't know how many mirrors, like 3 mirrors, a windscreen and a windshield, uko nyuma. Like they are radically different things, but they work together to give you a full picture of
Right.
all that you're not able to see as you look ahead.
Right.
And I think it's the same way in a relationship.
You should be each other's mirrors. Wise man. Question 3. How do cultural, personality, or even faith differences play into long-term relationships?
Cultural?
Cultural, personality, or even faith differences play into long-term relationships.
I feel like we've already kind of spoken about personalities because, like, for example, us, we had very different personalities, even when it comes to things like finances. Mimi, I'm a happy-go-lucky. Yeah, we can go and spend every day. You are not like that. You're more of a planner, and I feel like that helps us, like, yeah, even be able to plan for our future and for our present as well. So yeah, the personality thing, I think it's very important in the context of a relationship. The difference is you guys just complement each other. Like I said, as long as you use it to complement each other. Because also I could have chosen to be a toxic man and be like, I'm the man of the house, so I have to be the one whose plan works. It would have been a terrible plan and maybe we would not have a better life than we have right now. But then it has to be choosing to let those differences complement you guys as opposed to it being a source of friction. The other thing is now cultural and spiritual, I think, or faith differences.
Faith, yeah.
Hey, bro, I don't know. For me, from where I sit, I wouldn't be in a relationship with someone I don't share the same faith with. Because I'm like, for me, my faith dictates my core values. And because it dictates my core values, it's just hard. It's just hard for me to be in a relationship with someone who we don't share the same core values. And because my core values are dictated by my faith, it just makes sense for me like that. And that's, I feel like you'd have such a smoother, easier ride because like your lives are governed by the same thing. Like I think in a previous episode, we spoke about how faith is kind of the lens that you look at your life through. So imagine if you have different lenses. Like maybe your prescription allows ABCD, me, my prescription of my glasses doesn't allow ABCD. So where do we find our commonality?
Yeah.
So I'm like, for me, faith for me is a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Cultural, sorry, I didn't mention about cultural differences. I feel like we've not necessarily experienced that because we come from the same culture. Maybe just nuanced things around like houses, like house cultures, like stuff that you saw growing up that was normalized in your life and stuff that I saw growing up and that was normalized in my life. And now those ones can cause a bit of friction because in your household, maybe you used to do, an example, have dinner every day at the table. In my household, we never used to have, we never even had a dining table in the first place. So when we moved into our house and you wanted us to have dinner every day at the table, it was hard for me because I'm like, yo, me, I know time for food is you put a movie or a series and catch up on the series and as you talk. But then for you, it's a different experience. And I feel like that's something we are still working on and we've not been able to kind of master the perfect balance. But yeah, that's what my response would be, honestly.
Okay. For me, I think I'd combine all of them into my answer. And I think the question says in the long term.
Yeah.
One thing I've seen is just to bring it back to faith. When light comes into a space, darkness moves away. But this is not to say that now you should now be with people who are unequally yoked with you. But one thing I've seen is it's important for both of you to be very intentional about seeking God and seeking a relationship with Him.
Yeah.
Because you find sometimes in a relationship, there's seasons, and there's seasons when your faith is much higher than mine and you're able to pull me up, right? Maybe you're going through a difficult time, you've been praying for a particular thing and it feels like you're in the waiting season and it's really hard for you to actually wait and be be of good faith and all of that, but your partner or your friend or your family is holding you up in prayer, is, you know, showing up for you and reminding you every day that God, the God of Abraham, God of Jacob, God of David, is still God of Sharon, God of Christian, then you find it becomes easier for you to deal with some certain issues, and it's easier for them to actually pull you up. So what I think is, it's important for you to always know that the reality is you will not always operate on the same level in terms of faith, in terms of, you know, like faith in God, like faith in miracles, faith in answered prayers, faith in just the day to day. But then your differences in that way, because there are people who, and I keep telling you this, I think you are gifted with the gift of faith. As they say, the Bible, I mean, the Bible, there's many different gifts. There's healing, discernment, faith, prophecy, and all of that. So you have a lot of faith, and there are moments whereby you've been the one to pull me up a lot when I'm feeling, God, hapa naona ni kama umeniangusha, or you're not listening to my prayers, or what's going on, like I've been praying about this thing and I don't seem to be getting an answer, and you're constantly reminding me. Imagine the same God who did this for you 5 years ago is the same God who will show up for you now. So I think it's important to note you might not always be on the same level in terms of some things like that, but then your differences in that particular circumstance will enable you guys to get through some seasons. Again, you might be very different in terms of personality. Let's speak about people who are just optimists. You know, there are people who are very optimistic about everything.
Yeah.
I know for sure I'm such an optimist, and I like to see the positive out of different situations, and even with people. Like I'm the kind of person who will always choose to see the best in people, even when for real I can see or other people around me are like, girl, no, that person will be, you know, you either a problem in your life or whatever. I'll always be like, but you know, like they're kind people, they're this. But then sometimes in those cases, differences in personality in that way, like having a pessimist in such a particular situation might save you from a hole that you can dive deeply into, right?
Yeah,
So I think in the long term, it's really about understanding exactly how to play your cards right. Understanding that for real, sometimes you need that pessimist in your life. You need that pessimist to remind you, I know, like you're very positive about this business idea, but clearly we have seen you've
Yeah,
done
it
it for
worked.
5 years, bro. Like you can't keep sinking into the same hole.
Yeah.
You've been doing this business for 10 years, but you're still on it. You're still pushing. You're still pushing. That pessimist will tell you, imagine, it's okay. It's okay to just, you know, count your losses and say, we shall try another business some other time, or we shall get into something else. So at the end of the day, I think differences are still important because they help balance out a lot of life situations, a lot of decisions and everything, and even cultures, as you've said. You end up, now your differences in culture add a lot of, let me say, what do you call it? Make your life even more interesting. The thing that you said about the table, eventually now when you come together into your marriage, you start to create your own cultures. So you're like, okay, so these are things that I'm not willing to let go of. And you come and tell me these are things I'm not willing to let go of. I'm like, okay, fine. So what we're going to do is combine all of this to form now our family traditions. So at the end of the day, they're important because they show you a different perspective of life. They show you a different worldview. They open a world that you had no idea of. And eventually, it makes you a better person in a way. So it's about understanding the positive sides of now your differences and just picking what works for you and dropping what does not. Yeah.
Wow. Question number 4. So, question 4. Can too many differences mean you're simply not compatible?
That's an interesting question. Yes and no. Yes, because there's honestly times whereby you have tried all you can to work on things, or, you know, just if there's this friend who, like, you're completely different and you keep arguing every single time you're together, I think it's okay to just let it go. It's okay to just be like, yeah, I mean, you're not a
Yeah,
bad
it
person,
works.
but I don't think we can be, you can be in my inner circle. But now it gets tricky when you guys are married. Because now, I mean, yeah, it's like a different ball game. And I think I'd say I think this is where compromise comes in. It's really choosing your battles and being smart about it. Because sometimes you realize you're both, either you might find you're both very strong personalities, and it becomes hard for when you hurt each other, nobody wants to go down and be like, okay, I'm sorry I did that. I know it made you feel some type of way. Please forgive me. Because now both of you are high on the clouds. You're not able to meet each other halfway and to actually solve a problem. So I think I'd say there's a level of humility that's very important, even when it comes to like the differences bit. I feel like there's nothing that is irreversible, or there's nothing that is what do they say? Like, there's nothing that you can't work on if you're both intentional about it. But then if it's one party that's, pulling the weight of it,
Inakuwa difficult.
it becomes very difficult. At the end of the day, you will get tired, you'll become very burnt out, you'll become very drained, and you'll just give up, or you end up just existing. You're there, but you're uko tu, Kenyan slang, uko tu. So I think it might mean you're not compatible, yes, when there's too many differences, but there's a part whereby you both decide if this is something you both really want, you can decide to be like, okay, this is something that I value as a person, I value you as my partner, and I'm willing to make it work. So how can we come to a compromise where both of us are happy and nobody is feeling like they're completely, what do you call it, completely weighed down by the differences, and every time it's your way, it's not my way, my way is never considered, my ideas are never considered. Okay, how can we find a way in which every single person feels that their needs are catered to? Yeah.
Interesting. Sorry, what did I ask? The question was,
Attention span.
can too many differences mean you're not compatible?
Yeah.
Me imagine, I think so. I think too many differences, but then hear me out. Like, I don't mean like differences like you prefer rice over pasta. No, like as in, if our differences are about like values and things as crucial as lifestyle, imagine it's okay. And it's okay to not, I don't think everyone is compatible with everyone in this world, and that's fine. And I think that's where things like courtship come in. And I feel like if you guys did your courtship right, you wouldn't even get to the point of marriage and then realize, oh my gosh, we are so radically different. Unless someone is now changing for the worst, or they've been pretending for a long time. Because I'm like, I think there's a part in the Bible where it says that two people cannot work together unless they're in agreement or something like that. As in, and it's not about like compatibility is not about like being the same, but it's about like agreeing on the key principles of the stuff. The core values are back again to the core values. Agreeing on key principles, like, okay, so for example, you are a married couple, like what kind of lifestyle is something that's agreeable within the union? Like, as in, if that's something that you guys have radical different views on, for a fact, it's gonna bring conflict. It's gonna bring conflict. Even in the dating scene, if you guys have radically different views on the kind of life that you want, it's gonna bring conflict. So, and there are people who are like, oh, that's the kind of life we both want. Sure, go and do it. So I'm like, yes, for me, I'm like, at some level, it definitely can mean that you guys are incompatible. Why? Because if you don't agree on the basic principles on how life is gonna be, yes, you can stick through the relationship, but I think it's gonna be a very difficult and rough one.
Yeah.
And I don't think you guys will find fulfillment. But then again, it's my personal opinion. I think out there people are radically different from what I think, and that's okay. But that's just me. I think, I don't know.
But the question is, what if someone is watching this and they're like, okay, I'm the part of the people who did not did not have good courtship, and I'm already in this marriage, and I've realized we're so different, I'm so miserable. What would you tell that person?
Me, I'd still ask them, like, as in, because being different is normal, even as we are radically different as individuals, but we share common principles that bring us to commonality, even in our differences. So the question I'd have for them is, are they so different that they're going against even your own personal values? If not, then bro, those are differences you can live with. Like, if it's a organizational thing, like you're very structured and organized, I personally am not. That's a difference. It's huge. It can seem like a make or break for some people, sure, but for us, I don't think it is. I feel like it's a strength for us because it enables us to plan our life in a certain way. So my question would be like, is it affecting your values? If it's affecting your values, then have a conversation, because especially in the context of marriage, you took vows to be with this person. You didn't just shagala bagala and end up together. So chat together, like, this is your life partner for life. Chat together and tell them, this really hurts me, A, B, C, D, and then see what their response will be. And hopefully you guys can be able to resolve it. But if you're still like in the courting dating scene and yani mmejaribu mko na yenyewe values zenyu hazitawai align, I'm not saying break up. I'm just saying I think you can find fulfillment elsewhere where your values align with someone else.
Okay. Great answer. Number 5. So what role?
What is question number 5?
What role does compromise play should one person bend more than the other?
First of all, I don't think one person should be bending more than the other. I think compromise is a two-way street. I think ulisema hivyo sometime in our
Episode.
it was the previous episode actually, I think when you're speaking about if you're always the one giving. Yeah, I think it's a back and forth. Of course, there's elements of sacrifice when it comes to a relationship and a marriage, but I think compromise is a two-way street. Like, I can't expect you to be compromising for me all the time, and yet I don't offer you the same kind of grace. I think it will get to a point where either you will get fatigued or you will get frustrated or you'll start to build resentment towards me or feel bitterness towards me because you'll feel like I'm always kanyagiaing things, and that's not healthy. It's not a healthy dynamic. And if you truly want to be in a fulfilling, healthy relationship, I think you have to have compromise as a two-way street. And I think for us, to becoming one, like our aim is for people to enjoy fulfilling and healthy relationships out there. And I'm like, bro, you have to compromise for one another. Like this, or like this.
Yeah. I completely agree with you, but then I also want to say that there's seasons for everything. Be it that marriage, be it that friendship, you find the seasons where your best friend will be going through the most, like work is insane. They are so busy, they even forget to talk to you, even for a whole month. So in that season, you realize you're the one who ends up compromising more. Maybe you're the one who will always take the initiative to call her or call him and be like, yo, I've missed you. How are you? How is everything? That's the same thing even in a marriage. There are seasons where your partner is, like really swamped with work, really maybe going through a tough emotional time, and you end up doing a lot of the compromising in whatever way, be it doing more in the house, be it showing up more financially, maybe they've lost a job, whatever. Like, I just want to say that seasons are different. It's important to know that you both have to be willing to compromise, but the compromise might not happen at the same time or in the same season, and that's okay. I think it's also important to remember, because sometimes we forget, maybe you're the one who's like, I feel like the past 3 months I've been compromising too much in this relationship. But you forget maybe in your first year of marriage, your husband was consistently compromising, or your wife was consistently compromising. So it could be your turn to actually, lift the weight, lift the heavier weight for that particular time. So just always remember that yes, it's a two-way street, and every partner, every person must be willing to compromise, but seasons are different. So it's important for you to also discern, what season are we in this relationship? What
And
season are
what
we
is
in
my
this?
requirement in this
Yes,
time?
exactly. What season are we in this friendship, and what is my requirement in this time? Because at the end of the day, as long as you both know where you stand in each other's life, be it that friendship or that relationship, then it's worth the sacrifice and it's worth the compromise.
Yeah, I think compromise is about like strengthening the relationship but not losing your identity.
Yeah.
Because if you're losing your identity in that compromise, then yeah, you've compromised yourself.
Too much.
You're in a compromising situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, last but not least.
Tuko last question. Nah, so mami mama.
Wewe.
Oh, so Madam Sharon Wanjirungu Gekimaro.
Yes.
How can couples turn differences into strengths instead of battles? How can couples turn differences into strengths?
Strength instead of battle.
Badala ya mabattle.
Number one, understand that it's important to actually have those differences in the first place. Imagine being in a relationship or in a friendship with someone who's a yes man or a yes woman. Everything you say, yes. Everything you do, yes. This person will never call you out. This person will always, it's like they worship the ground in which you walk in. Nobody wants to be in that kind of relationship, for sure. I know I don't want to be in that kind of relationship. So it's very important to know that, number one, differences are important. Because as we said earlier in the episode, they help you understand and see the blind spots in your life and in your relationship. So it's very important to know that differences are very important. And then number two, it's to understand and to be self-aware enough to know even when you're crossing a boundary. Sometimes you're doing something and it's not right. and you're hurting the person that you're doing it to, if it's your friend or if it's your partner. So it's important to be self-aware enough to be like, okay, I'm sorry I did that. You know, like, okay, you have an argument and, you know, maybe you just wanted to win the argument just to make yourself feel better. Eventually, after some time, it's important to sit and be like, I'm so sorry I pushed you to the wall. I know it hurt you. And it's fine. So
It is hard.
it's very hard when you're in that situation, but it's very, very worth it. So being very self-aware about your differences and finding ways in which you ensure that everyone still feels loved, because at the end of the day, the base is love. Like in any relationship, the base is love. Even the Bible says, um the greatest of this is love. Literally, I think it's in First Corinthians. The greatest of this is love. Like, all these good things are good, but at the end of the day, love is what carries the most weight. Without love, you are nothing. I am nothing. And yeah, so it's very important to know that the baseline is love, and look at the person that you have differences with and think, okay, the reason why I got married to you is because I really did love you. And this difference that we have, is it worth us fighting over? Is it something you can literally just let go of? You know, there are times where you're like, you will complain about someone leaving the lights on until you realize, imagine switching this light off is not going to kill me. Like, it can just be, what do they call it? Like natural instinct. Whenever I see the light has been left on, I just go and
Just
switch
switch it off,
and
yeah.
I won't cause a fuss about it. So be self-aware enough. And then the other thing also, extend grace. Oh, I cannot emphasize this enough, because remember, at the end of the day, we are all battling such big things in our lives. Sometimes you don't even speak about it because you're like, as in, it's a bit much. Like, it's okay, I can handle it on my own. So it's important to always extend grace and to just remind yourself, this person is a human being at the end of the day,
Just like you.
just like I am. And if I was in their shoes and they were annoying me like this, what would I want them to do? It would be to extend grace. So do the same for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you?
Man, for me, I think like your differences are not a weakness. I think they should be a strength. Like we mentioned earlier in this episode, like have those differences just complement you guys. Like genuinely, it will make you guys as a couple stronger. Why? Because you appreciate them and you get to learn from the differences that you guys have. And imagine if we were just alike. Like ingekuwa so tunnel vision all the time. Like there would be no dynamism in our relationship. And I find that that could be even boring. You could argue that it could get boring because it will be predictable. Babe, I know babe would say this, she'd do it like this. Why? Because I would do the same thing. But I'm like, oh, sometimes that element of surprise is like, oh, interesting. And you get to learn like, oh, there's more than one way to do life. And because there's more than one way to do life, you are able to enjoy even a more vibrant life than you would have if you guys were the same. So it's not a strength, it's a learning.
weakness.
Oh. It's not a weakness, it's a strength, and it's a learning, it's a thing that helps you guys learn. And if you use it as a positive tool, imagine, si ati nitakuwa mteremko, but you guys will have a more fruitful and even, dare I say, passionate relationship.
Yeah. Passionate.
Passion. Eh? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a really good episode.
Well done, my friend.
Well done, my friend. It was really good.
Your
I
hands are
think.
so warm.
And
wow.
you're so cold. Yeah.
See differences. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's important to just really be very aware and understand exactly who you are, because you can't even know your differences if you don't know who you are. So bottom line is, do a lot of self-work, do a lot of inner work, figure out, who am I, what are my values, what are things I can't compromise on, what are my boundaries, what are my, things that make me tick and all of that. Then eventually it'll be easier for you to just operate in all your other relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, tell us what you think. Tell us in the comments, do you think like differences attract? Opposites attract, or do they just annoy each other? I think for us, we found that we annoy each other sometimes because we are different, and also we find attraction in ourselves because we are different. So tell us what you think in the comments, and we promise to reply to each and every comment.
Yeah.
If we don't reply, hold us to account. Anyway, thank you for watching episode 5.
Yeah.
It's been such a joy to be here with all of you guys.
Comment, subscribe, share,
Like.
join the community. We love it here. We love that you're here with us.
love
And
all of
let's
you.
keep, just doing life together and ensuring that everyone out there just has some light in their life and some energy and some entertainment. Yeah.
And
Until
some
next.
positivity.
Yeah.
This world is so dark, man.
Right.
Be a positive. Be a shining light in your space of influence.
Right. Okay. Until next time.
A peace.
Goodbye.
Bye, guys.